Here are 4 stories from the AskReddit forum that gave me goosebumps, and the last one made me almost punch my screen. I'm not even kidding. Welcome to the very first episode of the Dark Library, where we talk about ghouls, mystery, and everything that cannot see light. Be sure to subscribe. In our first story today, it was submitted 13 years ago by Shirati. I'm not sure if they still live there today. I'm just going to assume they do for context. They start the post with, disclaimer, I submitted this in the past. All events are true. This story takes place in their very own home that was built in 1904. They've been living here for about 12 years. That's a long time. But only the kids would hear and see weird things around this house. Out of all the stories they have shared with each other, this is their favorite. It happened to their brother. The brother and his friend would usually get together on Sunday afternoons to practice their garage band. I feel like garage band, but it's really like a basement band because they're in the basement, okay? They play Spanish rock. They would do that until around 8 p.m. at night. Now, this specific incident happened during late falls when the days got shorter. The brother and his friends just finished a long session when someone suggested to go over to another friend's house to hang out, to party, to play music. You get it, right? So I'm assuming this is after 8 p.m. The brother was like, okay, let's do it. So he hands over his truck keys to his friends so they can load up the music equipment into his truck. To get out of the basement, they need to walk out of the basement through the stairs up, then past the kitchen, then the living room, then only they would get to the front door and the front porch, right? Right now, the brother's friends are all at the front porch waiting for him. He's the only one inside the house because he forgot his pancakes, okay? Inside a container in the basement. The basement is not empty, like most basements, I think. It has partitions, boiler, heating units around, and when he gets to the basement this time, alone in the dark, to grab his pancake container, he sees out of the corner of his eyes just a shadowy figure. It's not moving, it's just there. It's very still. And everyone in this family is told, if you ever feel like you are in the presence of a spirit and you feel a bad vibe, you either say a quick prayer or you cuss at it. And the brother feels like a wave of dread and unease in the presence of this shadowy figure. So he cussed at it. He told the figure, hey, F you, I don't have time for this. I gotta pay tax. I gotta go to work. I gotta go to school. No, I'm just kidding. I think he stopped at, he did not have time for that. And he walks out the basement to the kitchen, then the living room. Then he switches off the last light before leaving the front door with his pancake container. And the whole living room goes dark. And the only light source into the house comes from the street lamp outside. And the thing is, he has been feeling like someone has been following him the entire time, but he doesn't turn back or do anything. He just pulls the front door closed and he jogs towards his friends waiting for him at his truck. And he's telling himself like, it was probably nothing. Got spooked for what? It was nothing. But just as he climbs into the driver's seat, one of his friends asks, hey, wait, what about your brother? Isn't he coming with you? What do you mean? He went to work early. You don't see his car anywhere, do you? Then who was the person walking behind you when you were leaving the house? Girl! The human's sixth sense never lied. Let me tell you this. I've heard of this too, okay? Where either you cuss at the spirit or you say a prayer. I've always done the latter because cussing at a spirit is like starting a fight with someone you cannot physically fight. You know what I mean? It sounds dangerous, but there was this one time when my uncle was renovating one of my relatives' apartment when he saw some lady at the very ground floor waving for him to come down. Now, it's not like one of those, come down here, come down to the pool right now, come down. It was not like that. He was like 14 levels above ground. No sane person would ask someone to come down like this, like, come down, come down, come down. Why not just come down, just jump down. She was waving slowly at him. It was so eerie, and my uncle knew that that was not a human being, and he yelled, F you! And he went back to his work. Okay, I admire OP's brother and my uncle for this because it's so brave, but Would you cuss or would you say a prayer like me? For our next story today, it's not like very scary. I don't think it is. It's from Chris Thompson 7. 2 days after their grandfather passed away, they get a knock on their door. It's their neighborhood security guard. And the security guard tells them that there was an old man. You know, he came to knock on your door earlier, knock on your door for half an hour, and he left. When I asked him what he wanted, he told me that he needed to say goodbye to someone he never had a chance to meet. OP and their family have no idea who he's talking about, like what old man. But then the security guard points at a photo on the wall. There, that's the old man. It was the photo of their grandfather who died 2 days before this. OP is not sure if the guard was telling the truth, but their family did just welcome their newborn sister and their grandfather didn't get a chance to say goodbye. And that is something that OP would like to believe in. Now, I believe we have heard a lot of stories similar to this where spirits go back to their home one last time before leaving this realm. I'm a Buddhist and we believe that for the first 49 days after someone had passed, their soul may still linger in this realm, especially the first 7 days. So on the 7th day specifically, after passing, we believe that the spirit who had passed will visit their own home and their family members and loved ones will have to prepare a table full of the spirit's favorite food and drinks and also 2 bowls of rice for the 2 deities guiding the spirit back home. Some people would even pour pho on the floor so they can see the footprints, okay? This is not scary at all. I don't think it is. It's, if anything, it's really, really sad, okay? Because the living has to stay in their room. They at no point can open the door. There are stories about people hearing their loved ones who has passed, like the spirit say something, calling for someone, expressing their feelings or crying, but the living cannot respond because the living cannot give them a reason to stay in this realm. They need to move on. But I do hope that their grandfather has moved on, considering the guard is not seeing his spirit anymore. But I do believe, you know, besides reincarnation, I think that's another whole new topic, but I do believe that besides reincarnation, spirits can move on to a place where they can still be with us and look after us and guide us and all our future generations, like guardian angels. What do you think? You tell me. Our third story today happens around Christmas, my favorite time of the year. Christmas is supposed to be the happiest time of the year, right? But maybe not for OP. OP is called Mom's Day Prepper. I love that. I love that you love your mom, OP. Okay, to that story. This is a story I do not tell often. I promise sincerely that this has scarred me for life, although I've looked into the psychological explanation for what I've heard and natural explanation for what occurred. They remain unsatisfactory. This happened to OP when OP was a kid. It's normal for kids to be scared of the dark, right? OP was scared of the dark, especially because he heard voices in the dark. It didn't feel evil, but the voices were not of the people that he knew. Of course, he was scared of it. Plus, imagine waking up in the middle of the night, every single night, to hear whispers outside your room. Like, any sane person would be scared. That was exactly what happened. It was not uncommon for OP to wake up in the middle of the night to hear whispers, and OP told his mom about it, but she just dismissed it, saying like, oh, it's just kids having nightmare. But it didn't sound like a nightmare because it clearly sounded like different people talking in their home in the dead of night. And since OP's mom would not listen, he would just sleep with their mother. And her bedroom is right next to the bathroom. And it's still not en suite, okay? It's not attached. So that means OP still has to leave the room to get to the bathroom for any late night. Number 1, this bathroom is right next to the stairs leading down the living room. And on one such night around Christmas, OP feels the late night tingles. So he gets up, right? I'm guessing OP is sleeping with his mom. He gets up. OP leaves his mom's room. And the first thing he hears is, look. And a red spotlight shines on the stairs. OP as a kid is like, ooh, what is that light? What is that red light? Oh my God. It's a few days from Christmas. This is Santa. Santa's in the house. And OP starts getting very excited because he knows I've been a good boy this year. Santa knows I've been a good boy. I'm getting some good presents. So he starts walking down the stairs in the dark because he thinks that he's going to meet Santa. And let me read to you what he said. I was so excited. I began walking down the stairs to greet him, picking up my pace as the second step as it began to creep off the wall and fade into the darkness in my living room. What are you picturing? Santa can melt? Santa creeps on the wall? Fade into the darkness? Santa, have you been a good boy? It looks like Santa, you have been a really bad boy. Anyway, picture a shadow, not a human shadow, but just a shadow on the wall, and it starts like moving and melting. Then that's when OP hears it. A strong masculine voice right next to his ear. He sees nobody, and this is what he hears.
Stop right now. Go back those stairs.
And so he does. He turns and he quickly heads back up, and then he hears a huge crash downstairs, and that is enough to send him running back into his mom's room, and he hides under the blanket the entire night. The morning after, the poinsettia, the red light wrapping around the railings of their stairs, looks like someone just forcefully pulled them off and laid the lights on the ground in a pile. Now, that's weird. Not only that, the dry sink fell off the wall. Now, let me ask you this. Would home invaders do this? Like rip off your light and smash your dry sink off the wall? Because OP's father was worried that that was the case, but nothing was missing. Nobody broke in. Nobody took anything. There was no sign of anyone forcing themselves into their home either. And OP just could not bring himself to tell his family what he saw or what he heard the night before. And when he saw the sink, he saw like 3 indentations on the sink. It looked like someone grabbed the sink, ripped it off the wall, and smashed it. 3 indentations. I feel like I'm saying the wrong word. You get what I'm saying. And that was probably why he heard the loud crash in the middle of the night that sent him running back into his mom's room. But from that night onwards, there was no more whispers in his home in the middle of the night. And OP ends this post with, in a way, he would like to thank the masculine man for telling him to go back into his room, because who knows what would have happened to him if he went downstairs and turned to the right where the dry sink was. Girl, would you like to thank the voice? Pizza Bash replies, silly child, that wasn't Santa, that was a sedan. Easy mistake. Okay, after this, OP did share more history that he found out about the house. First, when OP was a baby, his parent put him in a crib inside a room where there was 3 windows overlooking the street outside. I feel like this is very prominent in a lot of houses where there are 3 windows, right? And his mom would put 6 of his favorite mini animal figures on the windows sill, so 2 each. One morning, his mom woke up to all the figures moved. It was all gathered in the center window, and all the figures were arranged from the largest to smallest, and all of the animals' face were pointed at OP's crib. At first, his mom was scared, but then later she felt like the present was in a way protecting OP. I don't know what presence, but other than that, OP also found out that when he was a little older, after, when he could play around, when he started learning how to walk, he would walk around the house like he's following someone from room to room throughout the house. Sometimes he would even look up to his left, a little over his shoulder, acknowledging the presence of someone that his mom cannot see. Girl, is this just another case of an imaginary friend, invisible friend, someone? I feel like that's something that everyone throws around, right? I knew I had an imaginary friend, but I knew that my friend was invisible, all right? I knew that I was talking to air. And the very last thing that OP also shared in this post was that his mom thought that he was crazy as a child, because one day she walked in on him taking out his toy and explaining his toy to his imaginary friend. When his mom asked, "Who are you talking to?" OP was like so offended. Like, why are you so rude, mom? Like, why are you acting like he's not just right here? Don't you see him right here? This older man with dark hair? And his mom was like, no. And she kept saying no until OP got offended and overwhelmed with sadness, because he tells his mom, "Great, mom, you just made him leave." In the comments, there are a lot of people saying like, oh, it could just be, imagination, hallucination. I mean, it could be, but have you ever heard of the saying that if you were to ever buy a new apartment or a house, you should bring a pet or a baby with you? Have you heard of that? Unless you have a friend with third eye, then you should just bring a friend. I feel like to some people I sound really, really crazy right now, but I grew up in Asia and I have zero doubt that we are not the only ones in this realm, right, Chubby? I'm pretty sure you can see them. She stared at a wall in my old apartment. It was really crazy. It was like she was looking up there. There was nothing. There was no lizard, nothing. Anyway, I have zero doubt that we are the only ones living in this realm, okay? Anyway, let's go back to my point. The reason why I'm saying that is because animal and babies are very sensitive and they're very perceptive to spirits, good or bad. If the spirit is good, the baby will be at ease. If not, the baby will cry. If the spirit is good, your pet will be at ease. Else, your pet might be lingering at your side. Your pet might sound very angry or upset or scared. You know your pet best, so you will be able to read their body language. And in this case, I think that this spirit is good. In OP's old home, OP moved out around the 5th grade. The spirit could be protecting OP, could be protecting this house even. What I'm most curious about is whether this house was vacant before they moved in. Was it vacant for a long time? That might explain the whispers. But the whisper seems like to be around for a long time, like for a few years. I know that a vacant place can house spirits, even a non-vacant home. Maybe spirits are going to be passing through your home. I believe is normal, but the smashing one is scary, and the red light too seems a little harmful. Okay, what would you do? Did you ever feel that feeling, like when you were checking an apartment or an office space? Like, did you feel like, I don't feel so comfortable here for some reason that you cannot explain? You tell me. For our last story today, get ready to not smash your screen, okay? A couple of months ago, my friend's cousin bought a new cell phone. After a long day of work, she came home, placed her phone on the counter, and went to watch TV. Her son came to her and asked if he could play with her new cell phone. She told him, yeah, sure. I mean, just don't call anyone. Don't mess with my text messages. And he said, okay. At 11:20, she was feeling drowsy, so she decided, you know what, I'm going to tuck him in and then I'm going to go to bed. She went to his room. He was not there. So she went to her room to see that he was on her bed and her phone in his hand. Relieved, she picked up her phone and she checked it. She was browsing through it and she noticed only minor changes such as new background, banner, etc. But then she opened up her saved pictures. And as kids, I believe when we get a phone with camera, we start taking photos of everything. And he did. And she keeps deleting everything until there was only one new picture remain. When she saw it, she was in disbelief. It was her son sleeping on her bed, and this is the photo. No. So according to whoever wrote this, it looked like someone else was above the son, and it showed the left half of an elderly woman's face. Does it look like an elderly woman's face? No. Not to me. Hello. This happened around 2010, so it's giving iPhone 4. But man, I'm telling you that every single person who commented under this post was like, thank, I don't need to sleep anymore. Thank you. But don't worry, you are here. I'm gonna take care of you, all right? If you can't sleep, I got a little bit of a story time for you. Usually on this channel, I tell stories from books, movies, TV. So far, only one TV series. But these stories might just help ease all the nightmares, you know, for you after listening to all the scary stories. A few days ago, I did Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I hope that you have seen that book around. It's such a good book. If you're looking for a good love story, NASA, woman back in the 1980s, you're gonna love it because it made me giggle, and then towards the end it made me really like bawl my eyes out, which I'm sure that you don't want to do unless you want to do that before you go to sleep. What I'm really trying to say here is that the story is very wholesome, so please go and check it out. Other than that, if you're feeling for some thriller stories like who done it, I got it right here. I got a bunch of them right here, and I'll catch you right there and the next episode of the Dark Library.